Oh, hello.
They won't let go!
Don't worry, Sokka, it's just a purple Pentapus.
It's just a purple Pentapus.
See, Aang knows what's up. I know what you're thinking. How do I make a Pentapus from Avatar: The Last Airbender out of clay? Well, don't worry, I'll show you. Now, we'll start off with an aluminum foil ball, as usual. A hot tip though, when you cut clay, I would recommend putting your finger in the path of the knife, that way your bones will act as a good stopper. Conditioning the clay and flattening it out is mostly the same as anything, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but check it out, I got a pasta maker. It's also lightly used, so sometimes you get nice pasta bits in your clay for extra flavor. Now, I would personally recommend to crush your clay in front of your previous creations. That way, they can look on in horror and learn their place in the food chain. So you get your ball, now let's get wrapping. I made a small ball out of foil! What? Covered with blood, sweat, and toil.
No way.
It's actually clay and that's not what I'm made of. I swear I'm a real-life boy.
Oh shit, truth!
This is mostly the same for anything you make. You cover it up with clay, and then you try to smooth it out with your fingertips as much as possible before diving deeper with the tools. I'm gonna use a little pokey thingy to poke some holes for the legs that I'm gonna reinforce with aluminum wire. Now, I'm making a Pentapus, which is, as you might suspect by the name, named after Pentagon, which is a 5-sided building, and in honor of that, they have given it 5 legs instead of the normal 8 that an octopus would have, which I thought was a fun little reference. The problem with measuring things is that it's boring, so I'm just eyeballing this part, and you should probably do the same. This is the secrets, this is the sneaky underside and inner workings of the Pentapus that no one will ever know about except for you. And me, maybe, if you want to share it, but it'll be a little secret. So just poke 5 holes and then jam some wires in there and you could call this good. This is a little beside the point, but I'll never tire of bending aluminum wire. It's one of life's simple pleasures. It's so satisfying. Just get some aluminum wire and bend it. You won't regret it, I promise. Perfect. To reinforce the joints between the wire and the foil, I decided to drop on some normal white PVA glue. This step is completely unnecessary and doesn't actually do anything, so you don't have to do this. Feel free to skip it. It's just fun to get a little gooey sometimes. Oh hey, is that an egg cup? Nope, it's a Pentapus hat. To secure the Pentapus upside down while we put on the bottom.
The gods demand more flesh.
A perfect underflesh shape. Oh, and I should mention, I'm using Super Sculpey Medium, hence the gray color. I think it's actually my favorite clay, it handles very nicely. And with a quick pinch and a smear, the skin's at the bottom, just like Vince used to do it.
The skin's at the bottom, the skin's at the bottom, the skin's at the bottom.
This tuna, looks boring.
And here we can see the uselessness of the previously applied PVA glue in action. Now after the Pentabase is finished, it's Tentacle Time. I made these little tapered sausages and I tried to flatten them out on the underside. Then I cut the back of them off in the rough angle of the body of the Pentapus and cut a little groove into them that I could then fill up with some Super Sculpey oven baked clay adhesive so that it would adhere to the wire a lot better. This process is actually usually really messy and gross and sticky. It doesn't look like that on the video, but if you're following along at home, don't fear the mess. Embrace the goo. But that is the process for making the tentacles, and you don't need to see me make 4 of those, so let's just skip ahead to some failures instead. Okay, so I'm trying to make the skirt that hangs off of the Pentapus. Oh, wait, you ready for a satisfying shot? That's smooth. And then pick it up. There you go. Very good. Okay, it's kind of satisfying. Anyway, I was trying to make the skirt for the Pentapus that hangs down and sort of drapes over the legs, and I had the brilliant idea of just making a skirt. And it worked out great. It was not an immediate failure, but let's redo it just because it was so much fun. The next idea I had was to make several tiny slices of skirt and then try to blend those together with each other and trim the X's with the knife. This turned out to be a much easier process, to be fair. It didn't end up instantly looking awful. It took a while to get there. But nevertheless, let's redo that and add another skirt that is way shorter with little incisions on the folding bits so that it doesn't crumple up. In hindsight, I wish I would just have made like a snake, a long sausage, wrap it around, and then blend in the top part. But hindsight is 2022 and we're just not there yet. This is not the worst though, this is what I ended up sticking with. And it turned out good for the most part. The only awkward little bit was where the skirt overlapped itself, but I think we can move on from this now and forget that it ever happened. Okay, I wanted it to feel like it's draping a little bit more over the legs, so I decided to just pull it out a little bit between the legs. That's what I said, just to make it feel more foldy and flowy. And I think it worked out pretty well. Let's make some eyeballs. There. And there, it's a ditto. Now we're coming up to the next failure, which is the eyeballs. I made very tiny holes and I tried to place very tiny lids in them, and it looked awful. Let's redo that.
It looks beaten up.
I make bigger holes and then bigger eyelids and just sort of super sculpey oven bake clay adhesive them into place. Then I cut little grooves for the happy little eyelids because these eyes are supposed to be closed because the Pentapus is enjoying being tickled. Honestly, eyes are the most scariest things you can sculpt because they need to be the most symmetrical and they're the easiest to mess up. October is going to be nothing but eyes for me. It's horrifying. Okay, suckers! For the legs, we're making those out of many balls. Many small balls in many small rows that I then squish down to make them sort of concave on the one side and flat on the other. And then with some more speed, we're done. Oven bake clay adhesive. Bacon bond dotted along the legs and careful application makes short work of long tasks. And we got ourselves a happy little camper. Let's bake them. Love the smell of fresh baked Pentapus. Smells like clay. I decided to sandpaper it a bit because I want the surface to be as smooth as possible for when I glossy varnish it later so that it looks sort of moist and soft and wet and squishy. And also it's very satisfying to sandpaper things. It turned out alright, but then I had this brilliant idea. What if I mix Super Sculpey Bacon Bond clay adhesive with some water and slop it on all over the place? Will that make the texture, the surface of this Pentapus, moist and wet and goopy? The answer might surprise you. We'll be back after these messages. No, it doesn't, but it might have if I used more of it, so lesson learned for later. I'm using full cart matte acrylics to paint the whole thing, and I'm using some brushes from Represent IKEA. They're not that great, but they serve their purpose. Because I've been using Super Sculpey Medium, the clay is already gray, so I didn't need to prime it. But I did go over it twice with the purple, and then I used a sponge to dab away the brush strokes and leave a sort of stucco texture. For the bottom part, I mixed up basically the same paint, just without the white, and this actually turned out to be a very nice dark purple color. I mean, just look at that shine!
Now that's moist.
Although I did end up painting over it, because I thought it looked too muted and matted and desaturated and dark. And in hindsight, I wish I would have kept it, because now I think it makes for a nice contrast between the body and the tentacles. But the eyes, look at the eyes. I'm doing the eyes now, isn't that nice? Detailed. Maybe I should do an ASMR ver. Oh, there I go. Stupid. A very light purple for the dry brush helps bring out some details, and I wanted to highlight some of the edges of the Pentapus just to make it feel a little bit more cartoony, but I also wanted it to feel a little rough and a little worn and a little lived. I wanted it to feel like a real creature, so I wanted it to have some scuff marks and some dirt essentially on it. Oh, and I'm using the same white purple for the suckers as well.
Nice.
I wanted to highlight the eyelids a little bit, so I got these very special eye picks that are fantastic for adding details to eyes. They can be a little tricky to get a hold of, so if you can't find any at your local grocery store, toothpicks could work as well. Okay, let's wash up because we've been dirty. Oh, whoops, I'm using the old bath water. Well, that's fine too. We can use that to add some details in the cracks. And just a little extra droplet around the eyes to reaffirm that outer edge. I let everything dry overnight, and then I take things out into my special custom-built spray painting studio. Oh, quick note, don't let your sculptures stand on a cotton pad to dry. The cotton will stick to the sculpture. And we are done! Well, would you look at that? So shiny, so happy, so tickled, so delightful. I'm actually happy with it. I think it turned out well. The tentacles could be a little bit darker, but other than that, I think it worked out. I'm okay with it. I like it. And I hope you liked watching the process of making it. This video was narrated unscripted whilst watching it back after the fact, so hopefully things still make sense and you still got some enjoyment and knowledge out of it. And I'll see you next time for another sculpting video where I will attempt to make the Eiffel Tower at a 1:1 scale. Bye!